Welcome to the Better Workday Podcast with your host, Niamh Moynihan. Okay, I've put together my to-do list and I'm ready to get some work done. But I can't seem to make any progress as somebody's always distracting me. My phone, my family, the postman, the need to go get a drink. Niamh, how can I focus my time so I'm not always being pulled in other directions and I can start getting these tasks ticked off?
Hello, and welcome back to the Better Workday Podcast, where we talk about productivity, work-life balance, and the secrets to rediscovering the joy in work. I'm your host, Niamh Moynihan, and today we are tackling a challenge we all face, which is staying focused at work. And I don't know about you, but I find it hard to stay focused during the summer months. Between the kids being at home, taking holidays and just more things happening on the social calendar, I find that work falls to the bottom of the list. And when I do sit down to get some work done, I'm either distracted by an interesting WhatsApp message or a call from downstairs or the thoughts of the next holiday or day trip that we have been planning. But September is around the corner and I look forward to a return to routine. And so now is the perfect time to consider practical ways we can maintain our concentration and get through that to-do list. So are you ready? Let's get started. I want to begin by making sure we're on the same page about what focus is. At its core, focus is the ability to direct our attention and energy towards a specific task. Sounds easy, right? But honestly, with all of the distractions that we have these days, it is easier said than done. I really want you to stop worrying about whether or not you've got a focus problem or a distraction problem and fretting about it too much, because I'm telling you now, we all have it, okay? Because we live in a very busy world that's full of notifications, distractions, interruptions, and so it's quite common to be struggling to focus. No need for guilt. What we do need are practical ways to deal with it. And what I find helpful is to break down the distractions into three main buckets. So I would say we have digital distractions, and there are emails, social media, notifications, all those things. Then you've got physical distractions, which are things like office noise, work going on outside your house, co-workers, home interruptions. Side note, my cat is absolutely the worst distraction. She insists on being left in and out every 15-20 minutes all day long. And if you try to ignore her, she will just stare at you for hours until you give in. So she is my biggest physical distraction when I'm working from home. And then, of course, we've got mental distractions. So stress, when you're trying to multitask, when you're tired, or even when you start thinking about other things. So your mind might wander off to something else that maybe you're worrying about or you're looking forward to, whatever that might be. And I think that when we recognize these distractions, it's the first step in managing them, and maybe identifying which ones you experience most during your workday. And they might be different whether you're working from home or in the office. But take a look back, digital, physical or mental, which are the ones that really wreak havoc on your day. So now that we know what focus is and what distractions look like, it's time for the good stuff, how to actually stay focused. Now, I'm talking about 5 strategies or tips or ways to do it today. So you can grab a pen and take some notes or just sit back and listen. The first thing for me is to have a dedicated workspace. Now I know this sounds very 2020, but I know that not everyone has a specific area for work when you're working from home, and sometimes even when you're working in the office. But having a space that you always go to do your work helps your brain associate that space with getting things done. And what's nice then, whether you're in the office or at home, is to personalise your desk to make it comfortable and an inviting place for you. So I would typically light a candle at the start of a focus session because that's my cue to get down to work. So it's really good to have those kind of things. You could have an inspiring screensaver. You could have a picture of, a good memory, or maybe a picture of somewhere you want to go. Those kind of things, and they all make it an inspiring place to work. Once you have the workspace, it's time to set your goals for the day. So goal setting doesn't have to be big annual goals or big quarterly goals. Having small goals for the day is really, really helpful. And I would recommend just writing down your top 3 priorities. I do it every day. And Then below that, you can write down other little tasks. But identifying the 3 things which are most important for that day are very helpful, because you can go back to them even when your day gets derailed. And I'm saying when your day gets derailed, because it will. We know this. So it's important to be able to come back. I read some research that when we get distracted or interrupted, one of the reasons it takes so long to get back to the task is because we do on average 3 other things before we go back to the work. And quite often you don't go back to the work until the next day. So even if we practiced going back to what we were working on, that would make a difference. So have 3 so that this is short and manageable, and then you can write down the other bits below the line. And for these daily goals or daily priorities, try to use the SMART acronym. So make sure that they're specific, so you know what you're trying to do, that they are measurable, so you know when it's done, that they are achievable within your day. Now, this is a whole other conversation around people setting unrealistic expectations for their working day. But let's just say for now, take a look at your day, take a look at how much time you have outside of meetings and other things, and make sure that what you're looking to do is achievable. Make sure it's relevant, so it should be tied to your weekly goals or your monthly goals, whatever you're working to overall, and time bound. So do you want to finish it today, or do you want to progress it today, or do you just want to get started today? And make sure you know which one of those you're aiming for. Because when we have a clear goal, it provides that direction and also the sense of accomplishment when you achieve it. And when it comes to the time-bound piece, if you say that you want to complete a task, it's very different to saying you want to progress it. Because at the end of the day, if your task is half done and you haven't decided what you're looking to do, you can feel like you haven't done enough. So know what you're trying to do, know what you're trying to achieve during the day. Next one, number 3, time management techniques. Now, we've got techniques like the Pomodoro technique, and I spoke about this in a previous episode, and these can be game changers. So you can work for 25 minutes and take a 5-minute break. Or, if you are a fan of Cal Newport, who advocates for deep work, he looks for longer, uninterrupted focus work sessions. So maybe 45 minutes to an hour of deep work, and then, taking a break after that. Now, on the other end of the scale, I sometimes recommend aiming to work for 7 minutes. And that might sound really short, but there's real research that shows that the average worker switches tasks every 3 minutes anyway. And if you want to increase your focus, it's like trying to train your brain to be able to spend longer on a single task. So sometimes I think 7 minutes is plenty to aim for, especially depending on the kind of work that you're doing and whatever is going on around you, okay? So do whatever works for you. The takeaway with time management techniques is to use blocks of time to your advantage and choose lengths that work for you and for the type of work that you're doing. Okay, number 4, minimize digital distractions. We are bombarded with digital distractions. So turn off non-essential notifications. I love a notification. They are great for keeping me informed when I want them to keep me informed, but I always turn them off when I no longer need them. So these are things like email, Teams or Slack, WhatsApp groups, all those kind of things. Do an audit of your notifications and turn them off if you don't need them. And then designate specific times to check emails and messages. Depending on your job, this could be every 30 minutes. It could be every hour. It could be twice a day. I'm not going to tell you how often you should check your email and messages. I think it depends on the work that you do. But just take a moment to think about it. How often should you be checking and replying to messages for your job? And then try to set up a little bit of a rhythm for that. And finally, take your breaks. One of the biggest reasons we get distracted is because we are tired, we are fatigued, or we are stressed, and our mind just needs a break. It wants to get away from work. And if you don't take a break, your mind is going to take one anyway. So regular breaks are absolutely crucial. Step away from your desk, have a stretch, take a short walk, do whatever you like. And some people recommend practicing mindfulness through meditation or deep breathing to help center your mind and reduce stress. If, like me, you find it difficult to meditate, I recommend taking a leaf out of my 5-year-old's book. Yeah, this is true now. My 5-year-old gave me this tip. She learnt it when she was in ECC, in preschool. So one day my daughter was trying something new and she was, building up the courage to try it. And she opened up her hand, so her 5 fingers were open. And she took a deep breath and then she blew down one finger. And she repeated it. So she took 5 breaths, and each time she breathed out, she blew down a finger. And I asked her what she was doing, and she said she was blowing out the candles. And I just thought, yeah, it was a lovely, simple way to recenter, get refocused, calm down. If you're not big into meditation or big into mindfulness, you could do something as simple as that. And even that helps. Now, short-term strategies are great, but it's important to look at the long-term habits that can help sustain focus over time. The first one, you've guessed it, it's having a healthy lifestyle. So our physical health really impacts our ability to focus, and the advice is regular exercise, a balanced diet, and sufficient sleep. Now, to be honest with you, I have not always found this easy, especially when the kids were very young and I was trying to grow my business. So I do recognise this one isn't always as simple as it sounds, but even making one improvement in these areas, I think makes a difference. And for me, it's drinking plenty of water throughout the day to stay hydrated. It's the one area that I was really bad at, and I felt I could actually take care of quite easily. But you might be different to me, so take a look at your lifestyle and see are there improvements that you can make over the next 2 to 3 months. The second one really is to look at learning something new or picking up a new hobby. So this is a great way to keep your brain engaged. They say that a change is as good as a rest, and when it comes to your brain, that is true. So it doesn't have to even be work related. It could be anything at all that you're interested in, and it refreshes your mind and it enhances your ability to focus because you'll be interested in it. And again, you're strengthening that focus muscle, which is great. And finally, just take a few minutes to reflect. Sit down with a cup of tea or coffee or a glass of water and jot down what's working for you, what's not, and is there anything that you can change? And when it comes to focus at work, and when it comes to most things, to be honest, having that self-awareness and the ability to be flexible and try something new is the key to growing and to improving in the area. We have covered a lot today. Let's recap, shall we? So first of all, we talked about what focus is and the different types of distractions. And then I spoke to you about short-term practical strategies that you can do. So for example, having that dedicated workspace, having your goals for the day, and experimenting with different time management techniques. And then finally, in the long term, looking at things like your lifestyle, continuous learning, and reflecting regularly on your work habits can be helpful. Now remember, staying focused is a skill. Well, I would say it's more like a muscle that takes time to practice and develop. So do be patient with yourself. As I said at the top of this episode, we live in a distracted world, so it is not just you. So, keep experimenting with different strategies until you find what works best for you. Okay, so that's all for today's episode of the podcast. I hope you found it helpful and feel inspired to make some changes to improve your focus at work. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to subscribe and share it with your friends and colleagues. Until next time, stay well and have a better workday.
Thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this episode. The Better Workday podcast is about helping you have a better workday. So we'd love to hear your thoughts and questions. You can find our social media details as well as any references from this episode in the show notes.